All right. Hey guys, Steve Andrews here from Bar A Horsemanship. Congratulations, Kent, for winning the drawing. You're going to be making your video on speed within a gait. In particular, the trot, I believe, is what he wanted to work on. So I'm going to give you a progression, a how-to, where to start and where to finish. First thing you're going to want before you start doing a lot of transition, I don't mean doing them well, not just going out there and pulling the reins back and squeezing and kicking and that kind of stuff, but doing transitions well. First thing you're going to want working for you actually is a hindquarter yield. Can you step the hindquarters to your right? Then can you step the hindquarters to your left? You think, well, what does that have to do with transitions? If you don't have that hindquarter communication, you're not going to be able to engage your horse's hindquarters into the upward and downward transition. We don't necessarily think go faster in an upward transition and go slower into a downward transition. We think drive forward into an up and drive forward into a downward transition. If you're slowing down, you're not going to have any hindquarter drive and you won't have a nice transition. So hindquarter communication, you need that. It's also helpful to have some backup working, because we're going to use a lot of backup sometimes if we need to over exaggerate our seat cues. For teaching purposes, I might use a backup if they kind of miss my subtleties in just the downward transition. So you'll see that today too. So I'm going to go ahead and write a pattern here, and what you're going to see is a lot of transitions. And you're going to want a lot of transitions up and down before you start working on speed within a gait. And as we go here, I'll explain why. We get you guys watching something. The rest of this video is going to be a voiceover, because I don't have a fancy microphone for you guys to enjoy. But I'm going to get started here and show you the rest of the progression on how to do transitions well. Alright guys, here we go. So today we're going to be talking about speed within a gait, and particularly for Kent, speed within the trot. So we're going to go through some prerequisites here that I recommend you have working for you. First were the hindquarter yields and the backup that I showed in the beginning. And here, what I'm looking for, what you guys can look for with your horses, is they'll have a natural trot. So here we're trotting. I'm looking for his natural speed, just what feels good to him. You notice he's not jogging or going really slow. If your horse is jogging or going really slow, they're going to be most likely be heavy in the feet. But he's also not frantic and choppy and running away. He's stretching nicely. He's reaching nicely with his hindquarters. And you can really feel that when you find that on your horse. Now the first thing we're going to start to play with is not speed within the gait, but I'm going to play with, and I recommend you guys play with your trot to walk transitions, because it's going to be easier for your horse to feel. I've been riding this 3-year-old for about 4 or 5 months now, so you can see he's already got a handle on this stuff. So all I'm doing here, when I ask him to settle into a walk, I'm settling my seat bones into the saddle, but I'm also engaging my core and driving forward, because I don't want him to slow down into a stop. Now you can kind of see here, if he doesn't, well, maybe not right there, if he doesn't come down with me, I lift that rein just a little bit, and then I can draw it straight back to my hip. That's called a steady rein position. And if I need to do more than that, I can help him by taking the opportunity to practice my backing. So instead of going from a trot to a walk, if I need to do more than a steady rein, I might back him up, just so he can really get a feel for my seat. Something else that's good to have working Again, you saw the canter transition here. I like doing a walk canter transition or a trot to canter transition because that really allows him to get a feel for my weight shift and for my seat. So you'll see, lots of different transitions here as we go through this training session. What I look for in the walk here, I like the horse to at least be tracking up. So that's kind of what I was waiting for him to do. I also want him to be moving out nice and straight on those straightaways. And I like, if they're really tracking up like that, there's a better chance they're going to stretch and feel nice for you. And also, the better your transitions are going to be. So right there, a little weight shift to the outside and back tells him to reach forward into that canter. So again, it's really about him getting a feel for my seat, because when we start playing with your natural trot or your working trot to a slow trot to a fast trot, your seat communication is going to be just a little bit more subtle than the weight shift of changing gaits. So that's why I like to change from one gait to the next first. So let's just watch him as he travels out a bit there. That was a nice upward transition there. He maintained a nice stretch. Now right there, if I sit down and I don't get a response, when I say sit down, I asked for a walk transition, and he went more than 5 strides without making a change. So there's a good example of when I might back the horse up. So I made a bigger change in my seat than simply a walk. So I backed him up and then released him into the forward transition. And then we tried again there on the wall side, and you could see he made the connection and went from a canter to a walk with just my seat. So right there, I just wanted to make sure he was traveling nice and straight before I went into that transition. If you notice, I don't usually do any transitions on those turns. I like him to be nice and straight. It's just a good way to practice your precision. If you also notice, we haven't done any left lead yet, so we're going to do left lead, now a right lead, now walk, left lead, walk, right lead. So after this video, I do the same pattern to the left, but of course you're going to want to make sure that you can ride these transitions both ways and get both of your leads on straight lines. So here I'm getting him back into his natural working trot. He's light on his feet. He's stretching over the top line nicely. I'm going to speed my seat up just a little bit here. See if I can really get him to step out. Now this horse, he's a bit of a long horse, so it's easy for him to go forward. So there we go. There we stepped it up a little bit. And what I noticed about that transition, it was a little bit punchy. He kind of jumped into it a little too much. If you noticed, he almost went into a right lead, just in the front. But there he started to smooth out, so we're going to ease back here. Being that he's a long horse, the slower stride is a little bit harder. When I say long, I mean more of an extroverted type of a horse. So the slower trot, he'd just prefer not to do, so I'm going to allow him to find it, and when he does, I'm going to ask him back up into his natural working trot again. And we'll slowly allow him to find that slower trot. I'm not going to have him do it all at once. Here's the faster trot, speeding my seat up just a little bit. If you notice again, if I need that rein, I can lift it up off of his withers. If I need more than that, I can draw that rein straight back to my hip. Again, that's called the steady rein position. And that's how I'm getting him to slow the trot down if I need to. And of course, all the rein work happens after your seat work. I just want to be clear on that. You don't go straight to your reins. You need to slow your rhythm down first. See if your horse will get with you, and then you can use your aids. And we'll allow him to finish up with his nice natural working trot. I hope that was helpful to you guys. Congratulations again, Kent, for winning, and we'll see you next time.